final blow, of course, is Anthony Kennedy has announced his retirement. And there does not seem to be really anything that can be done about this in terms of preventing the next Supreme Court justice to be seated. Some people are floating different plans. The Senate being completely shut down, that seems highly unlikely to me. Or some combination of John McCain not showing up to vote and Susan Collins deciding that she's going to take her first principled vote in the history of her career and actually maintain her pledge to prevent a anti-abortion judge to be seated. Maybe she could change her mind. But here is Jeffrey Toobin on CNN basically outlining what's going to happen going forward. Now, understand, the guy who qualifies his statement sitting next to Jeffrey Toobin is Ken Cuccinelli. He was the Attorney General of Virginia when the governor there, Governor Bob, I can't remember what his name was, a vaginal probe, I believe it was, Bob McDonald, wanted to have a law that said that if you went in to get an abortion, you literally had to have a vaginal probe to provide an ultrasound for kids. So just understand, Ken Cuccinelli is supposedly the one who's trying to say like, well, all right, listen to this.
We talk about Supreme Court too much in abstractions about dignity and who's qualified and who's not qualified. Let's talk facts. Let's talk about what America is going to be like that's different. You are going to see 20 states pass laws banning abortion outright. Just banning abortion, and because they know that there are now going to be 5 votes on the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade. And abortion will be illegal in a significant part of the United States in 18 months. There is just no doubt about that. And that's why these seats matter so much. Because one of my favorite lines about the Supreme Court was by Justice Robert Jackson, who served on the court in the 1940s and 50s. And he said, "We are not final because we are infallible. We are infallible because we are final." Somebody has the last word, and here it's the Supreme Court, and right. Roe v. Wade is doomed. It is gone because Donald Trump won the election, and because he's going to have the chance, and because he's going to have the chance to appoint 2 Supreme Court justices.
Wow. Just still sitting with the gravity of what you just said. How quickly do you think that those changes will come on the state level?
Yeah, first of all, I don't agree with Jeffrey that there are going to be not 20 states. There will be some states, but they'll be in a very distinct minority. You will see this now as an open political debate. People have run for governor. I've run for governor in my state. And while I didn't do this, lots of people have. When this question has come up, they say, oh, that's a federal issue. Well, all overturning Roe v. Wade does is, as Jeffrey points out, it returns it to the states. So then it suddenly becomes a state issue in 50 states. And it's a part of every state election. And it becomes actually more important in those state races than it is today. And that's if it happens. I don't see the 18-month time schedule of Jeffrey Toobin happening, but it is possible sometime in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, in other words, what Ken Cuccinelli is saying there is, yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Without a doubt, it's going to happen. And this is, we're going to be looking, maybe it won't be 18 months out, although I would be very surprised if it wasn't. That we don't have half the states or 20 states in this country where it's been outlawed. Now, understand this is how it goes, right? The new justice is seated. Maybe that happens if McConnell has his way, and he probably will. That'll happen in October. And then really once the midterm elections are over, if there are any people to be inaugurated on a state level, state elections, starting in January, you will see multiple states, starting in January, probably on day one, outlawing abortion. And it will become the law in these states. One of those states will be the first one to try and get to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will expedite it more than likely, and they will find that they will overturn Roe v. Wade. You will lose the right to an abortion as a federal right. States will be able to ban abortion. And then on top of that, the question will be, will the federal government, will Congress say it's illegal for you to cross state lines to get an abortion? This all remains to be seen. In the meantime, we've got to take a break.